Hey everyone, can you hear me?
Miss in the vest, do you need a name tag?
Hey everybody. All right. All right. You're live. I'll go. I know my phone's a little messed up today, but I think if we go this other camera, it'll be better. Okay. As soon as I fill out a. There we go. I think we're on. Just get my. We're on. Like we're alive. So let me just get the. Yeah, she just texted me. She's like,
And then we can see you in person today. Let me tell you what our word is. Mike and I are here tonight. Our committee woman, Gail Farwell, you're familiar with. Mike is our mini man. He's our vice president, and I'll talk about him in a minute. Our treasurer is Deborah Lovelace, who had a conflict with him, and our secretary is Deborah Lovelace. Our treasurer is Christina Bennett, who's taking the course. And isn't able to be here tonight. If you need to pay your dues or desire to pay your dues, the easiest way to do it is on our website. But if you want to leave a check for me, it's $20, and I would be happy. You just have to leave clear instructions so I make sure. Another news I put in the email, but I wanted to thank our Terry, our former committeeman and president, and Heather Navarro, former alderwoman, for stepping up to handle our campaign committee, which is a really important aspect of our work, particularly as we move to a primary season, a political season. We use the money that goes to that account for our political activities. Our club funds don't go to our club funds, separate accounts. So if you have interest in that, please talk to Art Perry or Heather Navarro. They would be very make sure you sign in. If you are online, put your name in the chat or send us an email. Let us know that you are participating. I'll go back to it. Sign in, Gail. Welcome, Gail. What are you doing? So the first thing I just want to say is we have a new alderman elect, and I am so thrilled that it is on my
Thank you. Thrilled as well.
Later in the program, but I just, it's so important that we maintain our influence in the community, that we have strong leadership, which we have had for the last 24 years with Cruisin for such a long time, and then with Kevin Navarro, who's taken on a really wonderful new job an opportunity she couldn't turn down. And so Mike was able to step into the role and run a campaign like this. Our speaker has arrived. What we want to talk about tonight is the American Rescue Plan Act passed by Congress in the fall. Has a provision that's bringing $350 billion to states, municipalities, tribal lands across the country. And each municipality, the county got money, the city got money, the other county got money, those counties, states, all these different municipalities and states and tribal governments got their own pot of money. And so it's up to them within the guidelines of the Treasury Department to decide how that money gets spent. And so we are really grateful that Mayor Shar Jones, Representative Grace Young, who has a long, is looking at a resume today, very impressive, long list of their urban strategies, work on the pandemic, most recently on community engagement. So she's here to talk about and get input on what we should be doing in the city with those funds. And also later, I think Yusuf Scoggin is going to come. He's the city's director of human services, and they actually have a large chunk of money within the ARPA funds to address some of the pressing needs of our community as well. So he'll be able to add on when he arrives. Grace, you have, I think Mike.
Yeah, I got some slides. I'm just gonna need a second though to get set up with this too.
That's good.
And Anki, I'm gonna actually use your phone on the Zoom, if that's okay, because my phone is busted. Sure. Yeah, I could screen share on that, so and then we'll put it up there. So we're fine. Yeah. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, so we just got to get the meeting ID.
Yeah. Anyone need have been doing brochure? They're passing that out. Oh, okay. I don't have a number of times. Thank you. Okay.
Right. Yep. You want? I don't know if you switch your camera to the other way. You just on hold like that. That works too.
Mark up to 3 priorities. Okay. 3. Yeah, okay. All right. What for seniors, that's good. Right.
Oh, sorry, I'm like walking right into your camera. I'm actually texting you because he had asked if I was coming to this meeting or not, and he said he's not coming.
Oh, he's
He
not
knew-
coming.
I
Okay,
knew I was here, so I
Okay.
just wanted to make sure you guys.
perfect. All right. Yeah.
I can answer any of those questions too.
Okay, great.
It's here, PowerPoint. That's.
So we'll have knowledge points after this.
Oh, I don't get it. More like that. That's totally fair.
That's what your language is.
So, yeah, I'm happy to walk through it. We have some for, okay, yeah, that's what I think. Okay, it's good to go. Are you my tech guy too? You're welcome to just go to the next page, then. So I will get us started as shared. My name is Grace Kang. I work in the mayor's office, and my role is Senior Strategic Initiatives Manager. What that means is I take on a lot of the different special projects within the office. So we support a lot of our housing initiatives, health and transportation, as well as doing random facts about ARPA. So I'm here to answer those questions as best as I can. And I did share that Yusuf found out I was coming to this meeting, so he's not coming. So if anything related to human services that you were hoping to ask Yusuf, I'm happy to field those questions as well, because I work really closely with him. So is anyone not familiar with what ARPA is? This is a great group. We'll just skip to the next slide then. This is a really quick highlighted timeline of ARPA. We got our first round of funding back in June. We used about 17 million immediately for revenue replacement in the city. And then we appropriated about 122 million back in August. 12 million, what ERAP stands for, was for emergency rental assistance. And then one of the first programs we launched were 5,000 gift cards for COVID-19 vaccine incentives. And then we also launched the direct cash assistance program. So if you go to the next slide, you don't mind being my tech person now. Thank you. It just highlights some of the other programming with youth basketball leagues, putting money towards emergency shelters, partnering with the collector of revenue on St. Louis Real Estate Tax Assistance Fund, launching Gateway Go, which is free transit passes for youth and children, as well as launching and opening a Northside Economic Empowerment Center out of Sumner High School in partnership with SLDC. And then we're now doing more engagement for the next round of ARPA funding that we anticipate to receive later this summer, of about another 250 million. So if you don't mind going to the next slide, you can keep going. So the first allocation that we got, just doing a really, again, a quick overview for anyone who hasn't been able to keep track of it. So again, about 135 million total, what's known as ARP money, got appropriated back in Board Bill 2. And as of February 28th, about 17 million of that funding is obligated or spent. And then we're waiting on Board Bill 82 to be officially signed by the mayor. It's $37 million that would go towards North City for economic corridor investment. And then Board Bill 184 was an infrastructure capital needs package that was about 70 million if I round up. And then the next slide shows just what resources are currently available. I'm not going to jump into all of these, but most of these were a part of Board Bill 2 that went towards helping children, youth, and families, thinking about response to COVID-19 and how we build stronger communities. So does anyone have specific questions about the first allocation of ARPA before I talk about how we're looking at the second one? So the second round of ARPA, if anyone has the survey in front of them, you may have noticed the first question immediately was, how would you prioritize the first 7 categories, pick your top 3? And so we are focusing on long-term investments towards household assistance, neighbor transformation, economic empowerment, children and youth, government services, public health, and infrastructure improvements. And this is actually, I believe, the last slide where these are just a couple links to the resources and contact information of how to reach us. And I'm just here really to take any questions and help answer anything that folks are curious about.
So we're filling out the survey, but how many decisions are already made or
It's not too late. Mayor Jones is a firm believer in public health, well, not public health, but public engagement. So this will help us prioritize where we should invest more funding. And so we don't have anything necessary written out how much money should go in each of the buckets. We are focused a lot on economic justice and neighborhood transformation. So you'll probably most likely see more recommendations towards that. And if anyone listens to her State of the City, she did also announce 150 million to North City as well. So those are some of the more firmer commitments that have come out. We've also been talking about how we retain and hire city employees as well. So I'm sure not a shock to anyone in this room, because it seems like a room that follows local government very well. Many of the city employees are severely underpaid, so we're looking at employee retention incentives as well. ARPA cannot be used to fund salaries, so there are different ways we're looking at that funding. And then of course the Board of Aldermen is also doing engagement. We can't make any of these appropriations or allocations without their support, so we're working with them, and as we collect this feedback, I'm going to continue to coordinate with them as well.
I only know when I read in the paper. The first ARPA was roughly $250 million. Second ARPA is $250 million. We're talking about $500 million from the Rams. I didn't see any big ticket items up there.
What do you mean by big ticket items?
I saw a lot of neighborhood assistance. I saw, we can go back to that, but what are we planning to do? This is almost $1 billion. What are we planning to do with that?
So I cannot speak to the RAM settlement money. That's
I
still under
understand.
negotiation there.
I
Just saying
understand.
that right away, because I know folks have been asking a lot about when the city should expect that pot of money. How much are we getting? Because currently we do not know. It's currently being negotiated. In terms of the board bill too, that did focus more on direct relief for households, because we really wanted to make investments that were helping households that were directly impacted by COVID-19 more adversely. In terms of board bill, the numbers 82 and 184, I think those are more long-term investments, because they're going to be investing in economic development corridors in North City as well as capital infrastructure. I think for this next round, and to your point, I think that's what we're really trying to get at. How do we make bold, long-lasting change so that these aren't unsustainable solutions that we're recommending? So the mayor coming out saying that she wants to see 150 million invested into North City, I think is just one step of us also finding other sources of funding if it's available, and how we really leverage that, as well as looking at the entire city, because we know that we have to invest in long-term infrastructure changes across the board.
Go with that.
Okay.
Can you describe what some of the capital investments would be?
Yeah, so some of it, don't know Board Bill 184 off the top of my head as well as I do with Board Bill 2, just because that hasn't been appropriated officially yet, but some of that will go towards street paving, traffic calming, forestry, refuse. So it's making investments into actual infrastructure, as well as thinking about things that the departments will need and be able to respond to infrastructure needs. And so I can send the alderman, but I know he'll be able to find it too, a copy of Board Bill 184. If you all have a neighborhood list, then you can share that through.
So a couple questions. One, how long will the survey be open? And two, are there any other engagement opportunities that the mayor's office will be implementing to really get input from the community aside from or in addition to the survey?
Yeah, so we currently have, if I remember correctly off the top of my head, I know it's over 3,400 responses. We're analyzing that data to see where that information came from, where folks are marking where they live, if they also fill it out as someone who works or visits the city. From there, we're also going to go to different neighborhood meetings. Some of these, like tonight, we got invited to, but we're also reaching out to other neighborhood meetings as well, because we want to ensure that we are doing our due diligence to reach out to neighborhoods and wards that have lower response rates. Outside of that, we're going to be announcing a series of roundtables that we're going to be hosting. So you should look out for those announcements early next week, and then as well as at least 2 town halls. And so with all of that information that continues to come in, we will most likely also consider doing canvassing to reach neighborhoods that also have lower turnout. And we will most likely close the survey on May 20th, so about a month from now. And we launched it around April 1st, if I remember correctly.
On the capital investments, do you have any idea how many new jobs will be created and what kind of new job will be created with capital investment?
I do not, I'll write it down, and if I get that information, I'll share it with all. Oh, you just want me to take that? Or are you gonna ask me a question?
No, I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
I have a question. Some of these choices for top priorities are quite inviting. My question is something like neighborhood transformation. I can't disagree with that. How are you going to measure it? I mean, that's something that takes a long time. It's got a lot of moving parts. How are you going to measure the effectiveness of spending in any of these categories?
So for any of our ARPA appropriations, there's something called key performance indicators, or KPIs. They measure outputs and outcomes. So these are indicators that we create early on in the process to measure what type of change is occurring. I've been talking to our chief equity officer and building off of Mayor Crusen's equity indicators to see how we can use that previous work and the KPIs that we're collecting to see what sort of equitable long-term changes are occurring. And I think through all of that, we'll continue to look at how do we ensure that these changes are transformational and that these aren't buzzwords that we're using, and that we're actually seeing things uplift the entire city and not just focus on pockets of it. So as that continues to evolve, we'll be releasing information. We'll have more information about the KPIs coming out in the next few months now that some of the programming has rolled out, and sharing that information with the public as well, because that's information we're also collecting for the US Treasury that awarded the funding.
So is there any matrix for measuring at the federal level? They have given the money to all the cities, states. Are there any expectations in reporting back to them?
Yeah, there's very strict reporting guidances back in terms of metrics they've laid out. I'm just throwing out something as an example. They have not explicitly said something like 25% of your funding needs to go towards HUD qualified census tracts. Well, HUD qualified census tracts are areas of investment that are adversely not doing as well as other parts of the community, as a simple way to frame it. So one of the things that we also do with any of programming, for example, with direct cash assistance or the small business grant program that launched, we are looking at HUD qualified census tracts to ensure that we are prioritizing households that have been more adversely impacted through historical circumstances, as well as linking that they were more adversely impacted by COVID-19 as well.
One of the real difficulties in St. Louis is our public schools, as you know. And I know we don't have any control over the public schools. However, we do get control over early childhood education. And I'm just wondering, apparently that is really the key to make the public schools better, is to have very, very strong early childhood education so that each kid goes to school already knowing their ABCs, already able to read, already able to do simple math, that kind of thing. I'm just wondering, are we concentrating on our children in any way like that?
So that's some of what we're currently gathering right now with the survey to see how we can do better investments into early childhood education. Some of the immediate investments with Board Bill 2, we put, I believe, about $2 million towards early childhood education. We also will be launching a child support arrears program for any households or individuals with arrears in child support. And then I think that is a larger conversation overall. I'm not the education expert in the office, but if there's anything specific that you would like to see the city invest in, please write it on the survey, or I have business partners with me as well, and you can always email or contact me and I'll connect you to Will Pinckney, who is the education expert in our office. Yeah.
Like, I'm just curious, like, we have all this money and opportunity
And it seems like, are there any like really creative solutions that we're doing or that you know of that might just, I don't know, be kind of exciting or revitalize some things instead of just like putting Band-Aids on things or coping with the current issues that have been longstanding?
I think it depends on how you look at creative. Some of it, again, with Board Bill 2 was for direct relief for households, but I think that there are ways that we as a city can do better about how our investments talk to each other. What I mean, for example, is if someone came in for rental assistance or direct cash assistance, and now they're coming in for small business assistance, how are we sharing that data internally so that we better understand what needs individuals may have and we're doing better targeted approaches? I believe that with some of the new board bills that just got appropriated, there's opportunity to elevate and leverage off of those. And so those are still so early in the stages, I can't say what creativity necessarily will look like. I think, for example, with Board Bill 82 in the investments into North City's economic development corridors or economic corridors for reinvestment, I think those will be particularly interesting to see over time and how we can leverage from those, particularly with Mayor Jones's announcement that she wants to see 150 million go into North City. I think there's an opportune time to be creative, but making sure we're being creative with community. You know, we're not generating ideas without those that have been there for over the period of time, because we don't want to come in and put ideas, of course, onto them either. So that's why I'm hesitant to answer what creativity could look like. Honestly, I think some of the most creative approaches may not seem creative to the general public, but will make the city, in my opinion, function a lot better after being a part of it for the last year.
So my question is, ARPA funding cannot be used for salaries. So what is the plan on retaining and paying quality wages for some of the very underpaid city employees?
So one of the things Mayor Jones announced through the budgeting process is a 3% raise across the board for all city employees. I don't know the specifics to what we mean by retention incentives. I believe that's still being worked out, as well as she proposed idea of investing into paid family leave as well. So as we figure out those details, we'll continue to announce it out to the public, but I'm happy to give you my card and continue to update you as things happen.
I have a point too. So I heard the mayor say 3%, but is that in addition to the 3% city employees already get?
Let me double check. I believe it, I don't know if it's 3% already that city employees get. I'm not the employee expert in the office, so I'm always really careful when I don't 100% know the answer, not to give you the wrong answer, but if I can get your information afterwards, I'm happy to follow up with you.
I think, I'm sorry, Major, I think I heard that they were getting 1.5%, and then there was going to be a 3%.
That's what I thought too.
In addition to that 1.5% that they were already slated to get.
Yeah.
On the same thing, might not be a fair question to you because we were there, we listened to the mayor the other night. She mentioned something that that St. Louis is not a poor city, it is a cheap city. And would you elaborate on that? What does that mean? I mean, might not be a fair question for you, but it kind of has been gnawing at, what does that mean that we're a cheap city? Not a poor city.
So I am gonna agree with you. I don't think it's a fair point for me. If I can interpret it as myself and not on the behalf of Mayor Jones, because she may have a different interpretation than I do, and I would not want to speak for her on that. When I hear that statement, I'd be curious to know what you heard as well when you hear that statement, is that we as a community can be doing more to invest equitably across the board. That if we actually invest in an equitable way into North City, just as we've done in the central area and then parts of South City, that all of St. Louis can thrive. Everyone could have an opportunity here that was equal, in that we all had a chance to have access to good schools, grocery stores, but that takes a lot of will and change in systems. And systems change, as we all know, can be really difficult, because if we we've run into barriers as soon as we start doing that work. And then barriers sometimes are just humans and changing how people have done the work in the past. But what did you think when you heard it? Because you said
I
it
don't
was
really know.
denying it.
I don't really know. I just thought, I'm not sure exactly what she meant by that. And I thought maybe it was a discussion within the office and or the staff. They know, I mean, they have an interpretation, I'm sure. That
Yeah,
speech
but I
is-
think all of us would probably interpret that differently. Of course, as a team, we talk about what messaging is going to come out of any of this, but I'm not more part of the comms team. So again, I don't want to speak what she exactly meant by it because I've never directly asked her that question, but I can tell you what I think.
That's it.
Are you familiar with Carr Square Village? Did all of the employees at your level come in and take the city tours so they'd be familiar with that kind of development in the city?
I have not taken a tour of Carr Square, but other folks in the office may have, those that work more closely with SLDC. So I can't speak to if no one has done that, but to your point, not all of us were asked to go on a tour of Carr Square.
Okay, I understand they were giving some kinds of tours to some of the new people coming on, the smaller staff and what have you. My
What is
question-
Carr Square?
I'm sorry.
I said, what is Carr Square?
Oh, Carr Square is a housing development, and it was a planned living environment downtown east of 20th Street, or east of Jefferson, probably better for you. And it's just north of what's called the Mid-City, or King Drive, Del Mar, and what have you. And it was a pretty good development, quite a while, for maybe 3 family generations. But it's had a little bit of redevelopment, if you will, in the recent 5 years, 6 years, but not to the extent that it was originally built. But then there was a little bit of development a little west of that. But I did want to comment and get information from you in that with the NGA being sort of like the nexus, and with developments like Carr Square, there's an opportunity around the NGA because you can't build so much so other ways or certain kinds of businesses. Is there any plan to use that as a nexus for some Carr Square Village?
So I don't know if you may already be familiar with this. So SLDC in coordination with the planning department in the city, they've been doing neighborhood engagement for what they're calling our plan, which is a neighborhood plan of the surrounding neighborhoods around NGA and meeting with community and developing plans of how they'd like to see with NGA coming in, what they would like to see in terms of changes, what they want to ensure that the city is prioritizing. So if you are not familiar with it, they are recruiting folks to sign up for each of the different neighborhood community advisory boards. And I'm happy to connect you to the lead planner. And her name is Joanna, and she can answer more questions on that.
What's your name again?
My name is Grace.
GRACE?
Yeah, I'll give you one of my cards.
Say it again?
My name or the other person?
Oh, yours probably primarily.
My name
Do you
is-
have a card?
Yes, I'll give you one
Cool.
when I'm
There we
wrapped
go.
up here.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead, Kelly.
Yeah, so I know that there are 2 different processes going on with engaging community, the Board of Aldermen. They have their process with their town halls. I know this is a separate process, so I just want to know if you can speak to kind of how are those aligning? Is there any collaboration or coordination at all going on?
So the Board of Aldermen HUD's committee are planning their own town halls. So I know that they've already had one in O'Fallon, and they're gonna have one, I believe, coming up this weekend.
10 o'clock
Thank
Saturday.
you. Alderman's already
I
on
know,
top of
I'm
it.
on it. That's what I was already
Yeah,
announcing.
so I would encourage folks to go out there. Our intention with our office is to work with them and coordinate with them. Of course, we're gonna be happy to share the data with them as we work together to think about the best ways to appropriate this money to ensure all St. Louisans benefit from it.
Where is it going to be this Saturday?
You know, it was I posted on Facebook and it's on my mailing list, but I forgot where. I know it's Saturday at 10 o'clock.
It's
And
in
there-
South City at a church. I don't remember the address or the church name off the top of my head.
Yeah, and there are quite a few older people are going to be there.
Any other questions?
One quick one. There, I don't know if it's gone by the wayside, but when you said major things, there had been talk about a major highway system going from north to south, so north and south rather than east and west, and perhaps even Metrolink or something. Have you heard anything like that?
I have not heard of major highway. That would be my first time hearing that, but there is interest to see a north-south, south side light rail come in for Metrolink. And so those are still under planning conversations, analyzing the feasibility for that.
And I'm going to ask you my main question, which probably this money is not going to address. When are we going to address all the potholes?
We talk about potholes quite frequently in the office. I feel like any city agency does. If you can control the weather to give us really solid weather for a couple weeks to get all the potholes filled, that would be very helpful. Yeah, the weather, as we all know, slows it down. If you all see any potholes and definitely want the city to come out and fill it, please call CSB. We are, I know,
Yeah, we have.
and Twitter, you can always tag them. But yeah, we are working as quickly as we can to fill those. But when it rains or these cold snaps, it really delays progress. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Grace. If anyone would like to speak with Grace, at this point, we can stick around a little bit, and pick up the cards.
I
So
would like one.
if you want to just hold them up, like we're in fifth grade, you're done with your assignment. And as we settle down there, I want to take this, give Mike an opportunity to present himself in a whole new way, wearing a sport coat.
Yeah.
Pin that he got from
Oh, yes,
Len
please.
Cruzen.
Yeah.
We're really excited to like taking over this thing. Really excited to have you in this role, Mike. So please, share your initial thoughts in this role.
No, well, it's funny. The main reason why I'm wearing a suit tonight is just because I've been so busy this week that I don't have any clean clothes. So that's the only thing I have to wear. But no, thank you very much. And just while Grace is still here, I was just going to say, I took the survey like right away, like right when it came out online, and I thought it was really cool. And I actually thought it was more inspired than the paper version because like all the sub things they asked, like, you know, so some of the stuff it's like, what did this mean to you, and you describe it. So I don't know, I recommend doing it online. I thought it was pretty inspirational online. No, but I just want to start with that. But thank you very much for getting me elected. I don't know what else to say about that, but I know it was such a volunteers sitting here, you know, we had, I mean, where's Gail? Gail was working all day long. She started at 6:15 and she was there at 7 o'clock at night. So many people in this room had yard signs. I thought my yard signs looked really cool driving around the neighborhood. I really did. I was pleased by that. And we won, and we won well, you know, I mean, like 77%, like that's pretty cool. So I mean, I really credit this organization, you proved it.
I'm out.
All those. The other thing I would say about my campaign, and then I will kind of put the campaign behind us and switch more into Alderman role, but I did, how many people got a text message from me like the day before and the day after? All right, you know what? That worked really well. I sent that text and I typed it, and like I had this mass texter program for my law office. I never really used it for political stuff, but I fired off that, and honestly, everybody. No, you're okay. Honestly, it was cool because like a lot of people responded and like just wanted to chat. And those mass, you know, it's all on my computer. So like, you know, these numbers these people were popping up. And I think over the next like couple hours, I just sat there and just probably chatted with 40, 50 voters. You know, they're texting me and it just kind of went on. Maybe that's my exaggeration, but quite a few. And it really worked well. And, you know, there were a couple of people that immediately opted out. And I think 1 or 2 people, you know, were angry about it. But vast majority of people thank me for the text, thank me for the reminder. And then seeing folks the next day out in front of the polling locations, I got a lot of feedback that, they got the text and they were thankful for that. So I want to use the text. I don't want to keep using that list because, I feel like, you want to use an opt-in list for something like that. You don't want to just keep bothering some list you buy from the Democrat party. So that same program though, and I will say it, if you got the text, just reply. And I'm going to send one more out just to tell everybody this, but if you just type in Mike 28 into that number, then that's going to opt into my ongoing kind of text list and just keep. And I won't abuse it. I'm not going to try to sell you anything, but timely updates, and if I want to get kind of immediate feedback from people, I think it's really helpful for that. So watch out for that because that really worked out really well. What I was also going to say, I think we already mentioned it. Saturday, it's now I'm switching to Alderman mode since I put the election behind. There is that BOA HUD's committee in the field at 10 a.m. talking about these ARPA funds. I think that would be if you're interested in this stuff. I think that we're going to have a lot of input into it as well. The other big budget thing.
Name the parish and address.
And that's what I was saying. I don't even have that off the top of my head. It's on. I know I put it into my email, and I could even, as soon as I get done talking, go look it up on my phone. But it's somewhere in South City. Tomorrow, though, E&A. The board of E&A is the actual people who do our budget. It's the mayor, the board of aldermen, the comptroller. They are having a public hearing at 10 a.m. about fiscal year 2023 budget. And, that's a very important meeting. Those are the types of things that kind of set the tone for the city. You can watch online. They have a Zoom link. If you got one of my emails today, my email this afternoon, I posted a link to the city website that have the Zoom link there. But if you're at all interested in kind of, the city budget, which is a pretty important topic, this meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock will be important to watch. And what I would also say is, all these meetings, for people who don't watch public meetings, anything that's streamed by the city is then available to watch later on YouTube. So don't ever forget that. Big other thing I'm going to say that's going on this weekend in the Ward in Forest Park, it's Earth Day. So there's all sorts of stuff going on. I know there's festivities the entire time, so I'm probably bringing my kids, so I think it's family friendly stuff. Hope to see you there all day, both days. And I sent again the agenda in my email. Has people signed up for my email list yet? You should. I don't know. I'm gonna start, these kinds of updates and stuff. But definitely check that out this weekend. And then the only other thing I will say is, wow, actually this is hysterical timing because while I am going to be the only person who had to step down from the Democrat Central Committee, we could still be very partisan for a second. And before coming here, I actually went by a House Democratic campaign committee, that like the legislature House thing. Their campaign committee, they were having a fundraiser in the neighborhood, and they're thinking we can flip 7 seats. These maps, I guess, really actually worked out well for us. So, shout out, we got some state reps here. I was thinking maybe fill us in, but we ended up with pretty good maps, and I think we can actually, they're thinking we can flip 7 seats. So that's going to be awesome. So I think there's going to be a lot of work to do this summer leading up to August. But that's kind of all I had. I was leaving time for questions. I remember Heather's first meeting. Everybody just kind of hammered her with stuff. She was just kind of like, I'll look into it. So I'll probably tell you the same thing, but you can kind of try and start putting things on my radar.
I have no idea if you have any control as whatsoever, but just keep coming by lately. May have noticed on the corner of Kings Highway and Waterman, the traffic light was taken out by a car. And also another traffic light. So there's 4-way stops there. Those 4-way stops are wonderful. Have you thought of making something like that permanent along some of these streets? Because there's a lot of the lights are ridiculously long. And so, people want them because they're so long, but at least when they're coming to a stop, they're coming or they're not coming. And you also want the red lights like resellers. And so at least if it just talking about traffic calming, it seemed to have had an incredible positive traffic calming on that section of Kings Highway.
I could see how that would happen, yeah. I mean, you know, I would say, this is what I've been telling everybody. Like, voters want to talk about roads, and I get that. So, you know, the Kings Highway traffic thing is one of the biggest issues that I was talking to people wanted to talk about. And I know that there's people that are putting together a plan. There's recently been kind of like an overarching encompassing plan for traffic calming on Kings Highway. I don't know if I'm using that term correctly. I think that's actually a very specific term, but you know, generally a traffic safety plan for Kings Highway for the stretch, you know, that's in front of our ward. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I know a lot of part of that is how do we slow down cars that are speeding through that, there. So.
And we'll have, I think it's a good plan, and they're waiting for us to have representation in the Board of Aldermen to come present it. And so it'll be on the agenda for one of our upcoming meetings.
Yeah, I think there's so much running more traffic.
Yeah.
No, there's kind of this.
It's really a cool, it's not like, you won't look at it and say like, wow, that's so like, how did they come up with that? It's pretty straightforward, but I think it'll help.
Yeah. Well, it's like with the union's been wonderful.
Yeah.
Putting it down one lane. I know Lindo, but planning on putting it down to one lane, whatever.
What about our stinker?
So that's the other one. You know, I know
Oh,
that,
it's
I mean, it depends on what side, where you live, really. The
What
more
was it? I'm sorry.
stinker.
Oh, a stinker.
And, you know, just kind of generally like pedestrian access going from Washington to Forest Park. You know, there's traffic, and you know, a lot of people that live in the neighborhoods around Speaker and Forest Park feel very proud of that area. Like it's, you know, the front door of the city, and should be, you know, really yeah, the boulevard should be nice. And
Take your life in your hands, try to cross it though.
Oh, it's awful. It's really bad.
I'm just trying to.
But I think the city has to address the running of red lights. Oh, domestic. Because red lights have become suggested slow down or stop. It is not. I mean,
Potential source for a lot of income.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, that requires police officers and you know, for ticketing and stuff, if you're talking about putting officers, but traffic enforcement helps, I mean.
yes, exactly.
I agree with that.
Mike, you have a question?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
I want to ask, I'm gonna ask you about two things. I didn't remember about trying to make one lanes in Lindell. Is that for real?
So I need to find out the status of that, because last I heard about that project a year ago, that was kind of a done deal. Now, what I remember about that project was that it was mostly going to be done with like painting stripes and, you know,
It's gonna drive everybody crazy.
Yeah, and I will tell you this,
And we need to try.
almost universally, when I've been talking to people the last few weeks and that subjects came up, people are against it. You know, I know there are folks on Lindell that feel really strongly about it. And I can kind of see making the park access nice. You know, like I said, I didn't really know what I felt about it last year. And I remember at the time them saying that it would be kind of reversible if it wasn't working out. So I'm really interested to figure out what the status is and, you know, if that's true and if there's really anything that can be done at this point or whatever.
But you're finding out that, you know, since you've been campaigning and that kind of thing, that a lot of people don't like it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm one of them. Now, this is here's the second question. Now, this is really weird, and it only happened 2 or 3 days ago. I was told that the city or whoever is thinking of the road. This was always nice. Anyway, that the city was looking into allowing the homeless to camp out in the park.
So the first time I heard this was on election day, when I was hearing people outside of my coworkers saying, hey, did you know Mike Ross wants to open up a new homeless encampment in Forest Park? So I have no idea. Yeah, no, I don't know. I honestly didn't know. I since found out, because I was asking, that there's this board bill that deals with, you know, the procedures about clearing. I honestly don't even, I know there's a board bill out there about homeless encampments.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really on my radar until I found out that everybody was saying that I'm in favor of opening up.
I think that was a campaign tactic.
Right, so
What's
you
that?
didn't like that, right?
I didn't like that. No, I don't wanna, you know, I mean, I don't know, I'm not speaking to that bill in particular. You know, I don't know what's in that bill, but. Right.
Mike, what about a dog park?
Well, you know, so I actually, probably about 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon, Heather copied me on an email with the Forest Park people. Be like, hey, this is Mike, why don't you sit down and start talking about Forest Park? So, you know, I know how to walk around Forest Park, I know how to enjoy Forest Park. I don't know much about the way Forest Park is going. So, you know, I mean, I would feel like, you know, it's a good, a place specifically for like dogs to go off leash, fenced in, whatever. Yeah, I mean, you know, I know Forest Park's a good place, or if there's other places, for it. I mean, I don't have a dog, but. I'm not opposed to a dog park. Yes.
I mean, it seems like, you know, with St. Louis, we have a lot of opportunity here. We have a lot of like architectural beauty. It's fairly affordable to attract other people and people even to stay here because there's people that are leaving. And I think part of what attracts people is like people like family friendly stuff, dog friendly stuff, like pretty things. Like we've got a lot of resources we could do in Forest Park. Like it seems to me kind of underutilized for all the potential.
Oh, no, I think it's been used beautifully. We avoid the park on weekends, we leave them to the county,
Right.
county people who are coming in to enjoy the park.
Well,
That park is being used quite effectively.
I tell you what, guys,
We can use more.
we do have a lot of elected officials still here that I want everybody to get to, and you all know me, and you all have my phone, and I really, like I said, Mike 28 to that number, join it right now, get on my text list, because I'm gonna use that. But thank you very much.
Here's the address.
Oh, you got the address too, yeah, I'm sorry, for tomorrow, it
We're
is
not.
St. Stephen Proto-Meyer. That's a church.
Which is, what's the address?
3949 Wilmington.
Oh, yeah.
How do you pronounce it?
Protomartyr, not martyr, but I think that's, isn't it a
Thank you, folks, thank you again for.
Thanks, Mike.
So as Mike alluded to, we have a lot of people who want to put in there a couple of minutes. We're moving into a campaign season now that we've got our alderman election taken care of, and we do have primary elections in August. And so we will have speakers coming through, and I just want to remind everyone of the culture of our meetings. We allow everyone to say their piece. We kind of keep it at that. And, you know, if there comes a time where we want to have a back and forth kind of discussion, we could do that later. But generally, we just allow people to say what they came to say. And we can follow up with folks later, get a mailing list, follow candidates online. We start with our elected officials, and some of our elected officials are in Jeff City, so they can't join us tonight, but Carla May is here, so I would like to introduce Senator Carla May. Thank
My background.
Right.
So, hello, everybody. We have just, I have driven in at 4 o'clock. This is my fourth and last meeting for tonight. So I am so happy that everybody has decided to start gathering again. Now I have to decide if I would like Zoom or do I still want to do the gathering thing. But I do miss all the faces though. So, but there's a lot going on. So I'll start with this. Even though we're running, there are really not any congressional maps yet. Okay, so I'll start with that. Basically, the Senate did vote on the maps, sent them over to the House. The House won a conference, and the Senate has refused to give them a conference on the congressional map. Now, the map looked pretty good for for us in reference, when we're talking about the 60-40 vote in the state. So basically, it's 60% Republican, 40% Democrat. Now, it used to be reversed. Oh my God, it used to be reversed. But what we have is like at 60-40%. So we're at the map is kind of like a 6-2 with a good possibility on that second congressional district. We got about 43% Democrat in that district. So we're looking at, possibly a 5-3 map, which that's what it should be. Fair is fair. The whole state is not Republican. The whole state is not Democrat. So everybody's voice has to be heard in that balance. So that's where we are on the map. Now, this is the kicker of it though. We only got 3 weeks left. May 13th is the last day of session. And if we don't get those maps done, well, August 2nd is the election and the congressional people are actually running where they don't know where they're running at. These lines have moved dramatically. So the Senate has really, since January, we have not really gotten a lot done because these maps have moved dramatically in the contouring of how they're going to do it. And the congressional people, they have converged on the Capitol. Of course they have, and inserting their influence in the process. When the responsibility lies with the legislature, I think that we should have been drawing them without the influence of, congressional people, but everybody is running for everything. And you have a lot of people that are sitting in the Senate that are running for Congress right now. So that's another problem. So that's where we are on the maps. But the happy part about it is we were able to get the budget done after the House delayed it. And normally we would have got the budget sooner, but we didn't. But we were in the Senate, we've been waiting. So we were diligently finished the budget in 2 days. We did markups Tuesday and Wednesday. We went from like approximately a $30 billion budget to almost a $46 to $48 billion budget. So it's a lot of money going on. And it's a lot of money going in different pockets across the state. So what I've decided to do is I'm doing town hall meetings. How about that? I got about 6 of them scheduled. So everybody that's on because I'm gonna send it to Ann, and everybody that's on that list, get them. Plus, if you're a resident or a voter, you should have got a card from me in the mail that said town hall meeting. And the purpose of these town hall meetings is to talk about the state budget and all of this money and all the different places that it's going, and how do we access that money? What does it mean for small businesses? What does it mean for our not-for-profit? Because the governor has put, like, I think he put 20 million or 30 million in for not-for-profits, and he put about 30 million in for small businesses. So we want to talk about how to access those dollars. And we're going to bring some people from the state with us. So we're going to have a little fun. It's going to be myself, of course. It's going to be also some other elected officials. Representative Price is also going to be there. We have to talk about, the money on that side of the district. We're going to have some local elected officials with us, and we're going to have also the Senator Roberts from that shares part of the district with me. He'll be there as well, and we're going to talk about state funding and where that money goes. And we hope that if you come, you can let some people know how to access the money. People don't understand. We do RFPs with the state. You can get the money. And what we can do is you can also talk to your senator about, helping you through that process. I want to say that very gently. So that's all I'm gonna talk about today. You got all of these seats up for re-election. I am up for re-election. I don't have a Democratic challenger, so I hope all my Democrats will vote for me in November against my Republican challenger. How about that?
And also for people who are in office and also on the ballot, you get to speak once. So, so put your messages together. Next, we have Representative Wiley Price from the 84th District, who is in that position of being in office and running for office. So thanks for joining us tonight.
How's everybody?
Good.
Awesome. I'll try to piggyback off the Senate. Right now, we're dealing with the budget. They have the budget right now. Not really happy with the House. The House left about 1.8 billion on the table for the Senate to allocate funds to, which I thought was just odd and unusual. I didn't see a real political advantage in that at all. They also fully funded education, but it's a flat rate, so it doesn't really adjust for inflation. So that could potentially be a problem later. So just sent that budget over to the good people down the hall, and we're taking the 1.8 billion and doing whatever they want to do with it. I think there are a lot of programs that need to be funded. I think the education should obviously be fully funded, but I think that we're at a very low bar. Every year that number comes down a little bit, and I think that is, to your point, kind of goes away from the future. The problem that we're having in any of our, I talked to the Dr. Chow, who's the head guy over at Mizzou, and I asked him, what can I do to give him a better product of state students? And he just very bluntly said, I need you to work on K through 12. And if we're not funding our K through 12, then we're not really producing something that is going to be a productive member of society, to be honest. And we're putting them behind the eight ball. So that was the glaring deal for me in the budget this week. Also this week, also dealing with education, we had the Parental Bill of Rights, which it's always concerning for me when people who are not in these enterprises and are not taught to educate children feel like they should be the expert in curriculum. That is always concerning for me. Also concerning for me is when we want to start banning books. I think that is kind of throwback, actually. I mean, that's, burn the Library of Alexandria. So it's just anyway, I digress. The Parental Bill of Rights is problematic only because it's not written by people who are trained to educate children. And with that being said, we're going to have people taking away the ability for our teachers to actually teach in a way that they've been trained to in the past. Because of this new legislation, they have to kind of refigure out everything. I mean, even the process of the Parent Bill of Rights is a little chaotic, as most of the processes are there. But I mean, at one point, there was discussion of teachers having to put lesson plans online for the parents to be able to see every week. And I don't know if we have any teachers in the room, but what I know of teachers' time, they just don't have time to do that anymore. They're barely in position to be able to actually teach. The parental Bill of Rights and the budget was a big deal this week. So I guess everything is pretty much surrounding around education and finance. So at this point, we are just waiting on the Senate to do their job, and they're going to send the budget back. We're going to probably rubber stamp it in regards to the maps. The maps are just getting tricky. I think it's a good look for the Democrats. I think we did our job in fighting off the 7-1 and kind of forcing the 6-2. 7-1 was never really fair to begin with. The state of Missouri kind of votes at a 60-40 Republican edge. So a 7-1 never really made sense. In the past, we've usually we've diverted to the courts in this regard. So I think we'll do the same this year if the Senate refuses to give us this conference meeting. And I think that's going to come down to willing and dealing. So that's it. That's what I got.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's what, did you have a question?
I just want a quick comment. I'm a psychologist and I've seen more teachers in therapy with anxiety leaving the field because of the very thing, like putting their lesson plans online, being monitored at every step of the way. We're trying to recruit these people and keep these people and encourage these people. And we're pushing them out with this kind of micromanagement and this top-down stuff. It's exhausting.
Yeah, it's a national push from the other side, so it's not just us, and it's just it all sparked from the CRT conversation in the 1619 project. This is the national pushback. Yes, ma'am.
So in all the money moving around, is there any talk of increasing salaries for Missouri teachers?
Of course not.
Yeah. We put in money for teacher salaries in the budget.
Now, I don't know if it's gonna stay. But we did put it in there. This is just the first round. We got a couple, 3 more rounds that budget gotta go to in order for it to stay there. If once it gets on the governor's desk, then we'll have all the teachers to call them and fight for it to stay in there.
And that's probably the only way it's gonna stay in there.
We need to.
Yeah.
Revenue.
Right, I appreciate you working on that.
Not a
So
problem.
important.
Our collector of revenue here, Greg Daly, would you like to say hello?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Greg Daly. I'm the collector of revenue for the city of St. Louis. I think I know a lot of you, but if I haven't met you, yeah, I'm the guy. I'm the guy you write the checks to. And on behalf of the city of St. Louis, we very much appreciate that. Let me first say congratulations to the 28th Ward and Mike Grass for your victory on Tuesday. Big win. You're going to serve the city well, my friend.
Thank you. And thank you, Greg. Greg's a big help for all of us. So I want to thank him too.
Thank you, my friend. I'm the collector of revenue. We collect taxes. Not real sexy, but that's the job. And I think that our office does a wonderful job doing it. Our main concern is customer service and doing everything professionally and trying to handle everything that comes into the office as soon as possible. Let me, if I can, just one program that we have developed that I think is very helpful to the community. It's called RETAP, and it's just something that has developed this week. It is a program that we have 5 sales every year. And this particular, on Tuesday, was our first sale of the year. When people do not pay their taxes for 3 years, that particular individual is subject to having their property sold. In the past, it has been it's been a program or it's a situation where folks are sometimes put out of their homes. And what we have developed with legal services of Eastern Missouri, Abdullah, I'm not sure if anybody, he's part of Park Central, and Prosperity Connection and St. Louis Community Credit Union, we have come together, and the political end of it or the government end of it, as well as the not-for-profit group, we have come together and we've established a fund that for individuals that own their house, that don't own a mortgage or don't have a mortgage, but are struggling to pay their real estate taxes. And we have come together and established this fund. These people should not lose their home over $1,500, over $2,000. It's just not the way to do business. We have come together, established this fund, and just as of Tuesday, we were able to help 12 families stay in their home, stay part of the community, stay part of that generational home ownership, which really has worked, I think is going to work out extremely well. That's just the first sale. We got 5 throughout the course of the year. So I really do. It is something that is really good to see government and the private sector work together for the good of the community. So it's something that I'm very proud of, and I would like to see this thing work and continue. On a straight up politics of it, 28th Ward, I've had the pleasure to receive your endorsement over the years. I've been doing this for quite a while, and I've always been blessed with the 28th Ward. I would very much like to ask each and every one of you to support my candidacy again this coming August. So thank you very much for letting me speak.
So I usually just go by seniority and outside, the states. So the next race is our Congressional District 1. We have Mike Daniels, who's a candidate in that race here this evening. Would you like to say a few words?
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Mike Daniels. I've lived in the 28th Ward for over 30 years, Stinker Bolivar neighborhood. And I have worked in city government here. I worked for Freeman Bosley for a few years, so I have some experience. But what I wanted to do was just not come and try to discuss specifics as much as just to give you a general feel about where I'm at with this campaign. And the first thing I wanted you to know, which I believe is very important to me and to Democrats, we are being challenged as a Democratic Party from the left and from the right. President Biden has been undermined in terms of his policies and in terms of his programs. We have congressional members and Senate members going out, speaking against the president or doing what they think is important to them. The threat is real. We've got a 50-50 Senate. We've got a small margin in Congress. And we need to put people in Congress who are going to protect the interests of the Democratic Party. And by that, I mean this. I'm a Democrat. I'm not a socialist Democrat. I'm not a communist. I'm a Democrat. And we need to start strengthening the Democratic Party again on a national level and here at home. It's very important that the elected officials that are here tonight, as well as all of us, understand we need to protect the Democratic Party, and we need to protect it in terms of making sure that it remains stable, making sure that we can get our messages across, making sure that we can get our legislation passed. Because I'll tell you something. We represent the working man and woman. We represent the underemployed. We represent the unemployed. And we may not have always done a good job, but we keep trying. And we need to continue that by protecting the Democratic Party. There are a couple of issues that I wanted to talk to you about. And one of them is a good example of what I see is a reason why the Republicans are using issues against us because of what certain people say. And one of them is defunding the police. I'm against defunding the police. That's a national issue. And that is an issue that some members of Congress are using in giving fodder to the Republican Party, to the press, and all it does is weaken us. It doesn't make us any stronger. Some people will argue about defunding the police that St. Louis has enough police per population. The question for me is, do we have enough police per rate of crime? That's a bigger issue. And when we say about not defunding police or reforming the police, I think that what you'll find in this room is that we can do both. We can reform police, and we can protect the most vulnerable in our community and provide the kind of public safety that we need. We can do both. It's a challenge that doesn't come easy because people don't like change, but it is a challenge that we have to accept. If people say to us, well, we couldn't reform the police, what do you think if Martin Luther King and folks like that in the 60s had been told, and I'm sure they were told several times, you're not going to get voting rights. You're not going to get this. You're not going to be able to do that. It would have never happened. But it can happen. We have to work at it. The second thing is that as a congressman, I'll be going to Congress, and if there is ever a bill that has jobs for St. Louis, whether it be one job or whether it be 10,000 jobs, I have to vote for St. Louis. I will not go to Congress to make a point. I'll go to Congress to make a difference. It's not an easy job. It's easy to go to Congress and make a point. Very easy. But it's much more difficult to learn how to work hard to get your issues in a position where they can make a difference. And the kinds of issues that we're looking at today are lifetime issues. They're not the kind of issues that are going to happen overnight simply because we go to Congress, make a point and say, this is what we want. And then when we don't get it, we get mad and start pointing the fingers and calling this the very people that we need to vote for us racist, or you don't like black people, or whatever it is. This is a very difficult job. There are 760,000 people who will be in this congressional district. I intend to represent all 760,000 people. And I intend to look at these issues from both sides of the coin to make sure that everyone is represented in a fair and equitable way, and to bring some legitimacy back to the position of Congress, of first congressional district congressman, and get some representation in there that is going to be a part of a plan and part of the movement, as opposed to going out and arguing for your own individual points to try to make those points. And that's where I'm at. You can go to Daniels 2022. I've got a plethora of issues on my website. And thank you. Hope that you'll consider.
Thank you. I hope you will come back and share some of the other issues. You know, all the candidates are welcome to come again and again and go through their platform, and I hope you'll do that. And then for the District 84 State Legislative District, we have a candidate, Del Taylor is here with us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much. Let me start off with acknowledging Mike with the success. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Share a small story though. I'm in a service fraternity, and every first Saturday of the month we have a prayer call. And last month the question was, brothers, what is a manly deed? And I said, a manly deed is something you can't do by yourself. A manly deed is something that requires the help of others. It requires you to marshal resources, ask for help, dig deep, ask your family, your friends, ask everyone that, hey, and get them committed to this cause. So Mike, I recognize, and I want to also say a word of thanks to Ann for attributing to this great campaign and helping Mike get elected. So it really was a manly deed to marshal all these resources with the help of others. So congratulations to the team.
Thank you.
Okay. A little bit about myself, and I know it might take very long. I'm a St. Louisan. I was born at Homer G. Phillips. I know there's been a lot of talk about it. I really can't say much because I was pretty young at the time. But I am a native St. Louisan. I grew up in the west end of St. Louis. I went to Dozier Elementary, but probably one of the things, and there were 3 libraries in walking distance. I used to walk to the predecessor to Charing Cross, which was Kingsbury. I would walk to the Cavaney Branch Library and walk to the Wellston Branch Library. So community is very important to me, and these resources are very important to me. I'd like to share that I used to walk to high school. I graduated from St. Louis University High School. Education was extremely important to me, and I would walk every day, Saturdays and Sundays, because I had to pay for my tuition. And I gladly say that I worked and I paid for most of my tuition to go to high school. I graduated St. Louis University, and then I went on to Washington University. I graduated with a degree in chemical engineering. I then used to build water treatment equipment right here in St. Louis on the riverfront, equipment that we would send and ship all over the world. I say this because small business is very important, and it is very important that the state recognize the role that small business plays, not only in our local communities, but throughout the world. So we need to make sure that our small businesses have the pathways, they have the infrastructure, that they can continue to do trade globally, not just in St. Louis, not just in Missouri, but globally. I'm a chemical engineer. Missouri is going to get $9
billion in federal reimbursement funds. In fact, the senator already said many of these funds are already making their way into the budget. Within that budget, the House of Representatives is the ones that set the budget, and we set the sequence of how these projects are going to be spent. I think we should have more engineers in the House of Representatives. The body is supposed to look like the people, not all lawyers, not all one group, but we should have more engineers. And I think I would ask you all to consider that as you're making your vote. Consider more engineers in the House of Representatives, looking specifically at the infrastructure and how we're spending this, so that we can have great infrastructure not only for today, but for the next 200 years in the state of Missouri. I could talk a lot more about policies and things like that, but I think the last thing I'd like to share with you is, after WashU and engineering, I went on and got my MBA from Kellogg Graduate School of Management. I studied international business in Bangkok, Thailand. For the last 24 years, I have been an international consultant. I fly to Tokyo and I help AIG write global budgets. I fly to Fiji and work with Fiji Water on supply chain issues. All of these, I think, are the skills that we need in our state legislature. If we're going to make Missouri continue to grow and to continue to be a great state, these are the skill sets that we need. We need negotiation. We need someone that can haggle across the aisle and haggle. Believe me, I'm an engineer. If I can haggle with the marketing team and the accounting team to set up their budget, I think I can go to Jefferson City. So I'm going to cut it there. And thank you very much. Any questions?
You know what, I think if you look at your watches, it started a little bit late, but I try to get this done by 9, and I'd like y'all to look at your watches. This 9:05. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Awesome.
That's good.
We hope to hear from you again, third Thursday of every month, you know, and so our candidates have an opportunity to go through their platform and share different elements as they learn what, you know, the constituencies are interested in. Thank you all for coming. This has been a really rich and full meeting, and we will be back here third Thursday of May. I don't know what that day is, but it's in the email I get. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everybody.